Hello traders, this is Blake Morrow and you are listening to the week ahead video for April 19th, 2020. I'm actually filming this a little earlier than normal, but that's okay. And I have something really exciting to talk about before we even get started. And no, it's not take a trial of ForexAnalytix, although I do think that's a great idea. I mean, it is only $1 for 10 days. And when you do that, download the mobile app. All right, doesn't matter what version you're using, whether you're using the premium or the light version, you still get to test out ForexAnalytix in its entirety for $1. And it's for 10 days and it's only $1. But what I have that's really exciting for you guys to talk to hear about is our Traders Summit happening in a week and a half. It is a really awesome event. It's going to be huge. We have limited seating. It's free. And look at our lineup for speakers. It is going to be who in the hell is that guy? Oh, what a dork. Anyway, it's going to be awesome. So stand by for one moment. I want you to watch this really quick video. All right, traders, now that you've seen that video, let's go ahead and make sure we sign up. Remember, it is free to register, so go ahead and sign up. But let's talk about what's going on this next week. Okay, so let me move the data flash. By the way, if you guys don't know, data flash here, this is it's very similar to like a Bloomberg news release where when events and releases happen, they come up instantaneously here, almost as quick as actually having a Bloomberg. It's pretty cool. I use Bloomberg as well, so being able to see both is pretty awesome. All right, let's talk about the markets, and I want to really talk about first and foremost the dollar index. You know, if you're looking at the dollar and you're having a hard time making heads or tails with what's happening with the dollar right now, don't think you're the only one, because it is extremely challenging and it's being pulled in a couple different directions. Matter of fact, for the Traders Summit, my presentation is going to be on the dollar, what's pulling it, what's pushing it, and why there's such a disconnect with the dollar right now. So if you're looking at it and you're like, man, I just don't know really how to play it, like I said, you're not the only one, but we're going to drill down into the reasons why in a week and a half. So stand by for that. It's going to be pretty exciting. But you know, for the dollar for right now, technically, while we're above the 200-day moving average, just keep that in mind. You know, while it's above the 200-day moving average, it's hard to get super bearish the dollar. Speaking of which, let's talk about some of the elephants in the room. I know you've heard me talk about the elephant in the room. Well, the big one is going to be the S&P. So let's talk about the S&P for a moment, because it is going to influence what I am going to do with the dollar, in my opinion. The S&P is at our resistance zone. If you've been watching these week ahead videos, and especially if you watch the daily webinars, you've seen this chart and you've seen this resistance zone that, you know, I have thought, you know, it's probably where we're going to go if we can get past the 50% retracement. Well, we're up here, and what you're seeing is we're challenging previous support from back at the end of February. You know, that spike low, some of the other lows that we had posted early May, and we're just challenging that. Now you'll notice that just above that is the 618 retracement. Now that is the 618 Fibonacci retracement of the all-time highs to the lows that we hit. That big support down here, and you guys should know where that, you know, these big support levels were around 2200. And what we have completed is an AB equals CD move, right, which is also important. We have the 618. So I think that the market is setting up for a reversal sometime this week. Now, I don't want to get too excited about the stock market pulling back. And there's a reason why I'm going to get excited. It's not because, oh, I just wish stocks would go down. It's more of I know how to play the dollar when stocks go down. Hint, hint, wink, wink. That would be being a dollar bull. All right. So I know what to do with the dollar when the stock market's going down. We've had a very difficult time trying to figure out what to do with the dollar with the stock market going higher. Stocks have been going higher because of a lot of central bank activity has really propped up the markets. Obviously we've seen a little a plateau, hopefully, in the virus, and so this has allowed the S&P to bounce, and the dollar has not pulled back. We thought the dollar would actually pull back a little bit more. But if the S&P drops below this trend line, which comes in roughly around 20, let's just call it around 2,800, but it's going to be slightly below that, when you, depending on if we go down there, how long it takes us to get down to 2,800, or, maybe slightly below. Once you start breaking below like these levels of support down here, this would be 2,750 roughly. That's when I start to look at the equity markets and say, okay, now we're in for a bit of a down leg. So if that happens, how do we play the market? Well, in FX terms, I'll be looking at the Aussie dollar. Now, why the Aussie, you may ask? Well, if you look at the Aussie dollar, we've rejected the 618 retracement on the Aussie of the all-time highs. Not all-time highs. I take that back. I'm sorry. That just the trend high that was back over here and at the end of 2019 to the low. We rejected the 618 while we were above 64 cents. As stocks have been stronger, guess what? The Aussie has bounced as well. But if stocks roll over, guess what's going to probably go down? The Aussie. Now you're probably asking me, hey Blake, are we going to go back and see these lows? I doubt it, but will we go back and see 60 cents? I think that's possible. All right. So the Aussie is going to be one of those currencies that I'm going to be trading specifically if the equity markets start to sell off. I gave you the if because, frankly, I think there's a lot of people chasing this market higher. I mean, we could very easily be at 2930. We could easily be at 3000. So I'm giving you the ifs. If the stock market rolls over, then I want to play the Aussie to the short side. Another market that we should probably talk about really quick, and I'm going to keep this relatively short, but I want to talk about crude. Now, crude oil, this is the continuous contract, and this is the ETN or whatever that or CFD that follows crude. But if you notice crude, and if you follow me via Twitter, you probably saw me tweet something about crude heading down towards the 127% extension, which would be $12. One of the things that if you look at crude, and remember I think if you look at the June contract, it's trading in the 26. So I'm not sure what the continuous contract is going to do when everything rolls over, but you'll still be looking at these lows, and you're going to still be looking for the potential, in my opinion, for a bounce. And the reason why I point that out is if you look at relative strength, daily relative strength is divergent. And so one of two things can happen. You can see price move lower, okay, and if price moves lower, then you're going to see RSI break back down again, or because the RSI is divergent as it is here, it's going to eventually turn prices higher. But if prices start to bounce, which is possible at these levels, I can't imagine crude staying down here for too long. But if crude starts to bounce, what do we do? Well, in the FX market, how are we going to trade that? And I'm looking at this Canadian, and I've been pretty bullish the dollar Canadian as of late. When I say as of late, I have to go back into the end of last year when we had this false breakdown, and I got really bullish when we came back into the triangle. Go back and listen to all of my week ahead videos back in January and February. I was really bullish on the dollar Canadian. You can go look at the blogs, on the ForexAnalytix website. Just go over here to the blogs and just go back to January and February time frame and look at the charts of the day and see what I had to say. I was very bullish. We broke out. One thing I'm a little worried about right now is the price action of the dollar Canadian. I expected us to rally quite aggressively out of this pennant, this bullish, bull flag pattern, if you will. And the price action has been kind of poor here, so I'm a little worried about the dollar Canadian, especially if crude rallies. If crude rallies, I have a feeling that we might have done a false type of breakout, and we might head lower again. Now, if stocks go down, the dollar Canadian should firm up. But is it possible for stocks to go down and crude oil to go higher? It is. I think it'd have to do more with OPEC. But again, these are things that I'm watching. I think the dollar Canadian is actually a good risk reward setup for a long here, especially if stocks come down. But the flip side of that is if we break through 139, I do think we're going lower. And again, what's going to drive that? It would have to be, just stronger crude, and we could get the stock market selling off and crude stabilizing or maybe even bouncing. I would expect crude and stocks actually move together, but I've seen weirder things happen in the market. So that's something that I really want to keep an eye on, because I don't like how the dollar Canadian has acted at the end of the week. I expected it to be a lot stronger. I've also expected the dollar or the Canadian currency to be weaker because of crude prices and because of the Canadian exports and their reliance on crude prices to be higher. So does that mean that I'm a bull for the a Canadian economy bull? Not necessarily, but there's nothing more to sway sentiment than price action, right? So if price action goes, if you start to see the Canadian dollar strengthen, you will see people make arguments for the Canadian economy. I can't really make those arguments right now. After seeing their employment reports and knowing their how they really need the price of crude oil to be stronger to help the Canadian economy. But that doesn't mean that the Canadian economy can't turn around. And fact of the matter is the Canadian currency can strengthen regardless. And like I said, you're going to see a bunch of arguments, and you'll probably hear me report back and say, here, this is what other people are saying. Regardless, I think we need to watch the dollar Canadian if we drop back below 139 technically. Okay, so that's something else that I'm really watching in the next week. So when you're talking about the euro, you're talking about the cable. I really don't have much of an opinion on those two specific currencies, because what I'm going to do with the dollar is more driven about what the S&P is doing. Okay, so it's not, how do I feel about the Eurozone, and how do I feel about the UK? It's none of that. It's really more of dollar driven, and my decision making is going to be because of what is happening with the S&P versus anything else. All right. Now, if you guys are watching this video and you think it's going to be really helpful for you going into next week, make sure you give us a thumbs up on YouTube. And that always helps myself and the rest of the team. And remember, guys, you got to sign up for the Traders Summit. It's going to be huge. It's going to be awesome. And the speakers that we have at this event is going to be pretty amazing. So I hope you guys can all be there, and make sure you sign up even if you can't be there for both days, so you can at least get the recordings of the online traders summit. It's going to be pretty awesome. My name is Blake Morrow. I'm with ForexAnalytix, and make sure you listen to our daily free webinars, the F.A.C.E webinars. So my opinions can change from now until tomorrow, or until Monday, or from Monday to next Wednesday, or till next weekend when you see this week ahead video. So make sure you listen in every day to our free webinars. And we have so many great speakers throughout the course of the week, so many people in the industry. I want to thank you guys and gals for listening in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I hope you're being safe and you're being healthy, and same with your family and friends. Have a great weekend. Thanks, everyone.